Before using any machine in the shop, you should read and understand the owner's manuals. This is our oscillating spindle sander. We're going to take a look at this tool today and what it does. So this tool is going to spin around as well as come up and down at the same time. The oscillating spindle sander is going to be used to create inside radiuses. When we talk about inside radiuses, that would be like this here. Now when we use sanders should be used to remove little bits of material. So we would not want to come up to this machine and try to create this radius without first cutting away that material. That material would waste a lot of the sandpaper resource that we have on there, and so we would want to make sure that we cut out, and then we would have a line to follow, and we would sand up to that line. So usually we're only sanding about 1/16 of an inch or so to make our cut nice and refined and get it fine-tuned to the size we want. Now, with this being an oscillating sander, it's going to move up and down so that we're not wearing or heating up the same spot over and over. That's going to ensure that we don't end up with burnt marks on our pieces of material, and so that we don't damage the sandpaper all in one spot. Now, this machine has a variety of different sizes of spindles. We have from the 4-inch size all the way up to, or all the way down to something really tiny like this here, about 1/4 inch size in diameter. So you would pick the size that best fits your need, and then once you've picked your size, you would come over and change out the throat plate. That's this protective throat area or plate around here that pops off, and you would change that out accordingly to the size of spindle you have. Now there's a small little notch right here, and that notch fits into a pin on the table, and so when you install the throat plate, it will be down nice and flush with the table all the way around. When choosing your spindle, an instance you might see is maybe we have a circle like this that we want to cut out or sand inside. So when we're choosing the right size diameter for this, we need to make sure that we leave ourselves plenty of room for sanding. If we were to take the diameter that most closely fits, we don't have a lot of extra room here in the center of that. And so if something were to go wrong and we were to pinch or bind that spindle, we then have this helicopter type blade going to spin around and attack us. So when we're choosing spindles, it's better to downsize and go to a size smaller so that you have plenty of room around your radiuses when sanding. Okay, don't try to fit something the exact same size as your radius. If you are sanding boards that need to have an angle put on there as well as the radius, we should not hold our workpiece at an angle, either off the table or off the table that way. Okay, we want to make sure that our material sits flat on the table. So don't hold it up in the air either direction, or sand with it up in the air like that. It should always be touching the table. And so what we can do is we can bevel the table. Underneath here is some hand screws, one on each side, and we loosen those. And we'll come over here to the other side and loosen that one. Once we loosen that, then we can turn the table to our desired angle. Once we're at our angle, we'll tighten up the table again, and then we can keep our board flat on the table while we're doing our sanding. So if you came up to this and now you need to change it back to 0, again, you're loosening the little hand screws underneath here. You just loosen that up, and one on the other side over there, and then you're going to tilt the table back and then tighten it back up. Now, before you start using this for your good project, you need to check and make sure the spindle is 90 degrees to the table. And the best way to do that is with the speed square. So we can take our speed square, hold it flat on the table, and make sure that it is nice and tight along the spindle. Now really the table only tilts frontwards and backwards, so we should only have to check that, but it's not a bad idea to come around the entire spindle and make sure on all sides that we are nice and 90 degrees to the tabletop surface. Before we start using the sander, it is the operator's responsibility to check the core to make sure all the prongs are there and that the cord has no visible breaks or damage to the cord. Once you've inspected the cord and prongs, you can plug the machine in. Before we turn the machine on, just below the on-off switch on this machine is the warning labels. We should read these warning labels to get in the right frame of mind before using the machine. And then once you've got your materials ready, you should be ready to turn the machine on. You'll notice that it's going up and down and spinning. So we're going to very lightly bring it in with a little bit of pressure. Lightly do our sanding, keep it moving. Okay, we don't want to stop in one spot because what's going to happen is we're going to create burn marks or flat spots in the radius. So you want to keep that radius moving, keep the board moving to shape that radius. When you're done, pull your workpiece away so it's not engaging the spindle, and then we can turn it off. That is our spindle sander, oscillating spindle sander. If you have any questions, please talk to your instructor and get any questions answered that you may have.